Here's an interesting idea. The 2x2 game table with 2.5-inch hexagons. Numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, virtually 12 across, by 10 vertical, by the way I'm sitting and looking at it. So if I was going to just randomly place units, I could roll 1 to 11, and then 1 to 10 for the column and the row. So if I'm going to place this unit, this 15th Missouri, the 12-sided goes to 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The 10-sided to 10. So it's right here. So these guys get placed right there. Let's place a Union regiment. The 12-sided says 7. And it's always up in the top left-hand corner is number 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 1 puts the Union regiment right there. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1. Let's do it again. Rebel. 6 on the 12, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right next to it, and 5. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would be right in the middle of the river, so other side of the river. That's already interesting, isn't it? Now, don't forget, we need to put down our little... This is the reason for individual trees, too, by the way, so that you can put the unit in the forest, and unlike last game, you don't forget that that's a forest, because you're obscuring it. So one way of reminding yourself is to get little individual trees, keep them instead of a full-blown forest. Here's a good example. I'm just going to cut this. I made this one. So, right there. And actually, now that I've cut it in half, this one can slip underneath the stand as well. So you can see that they look like they're in the forest right there. Give you an idea. Right there. Interesting. Let's do another Union regiment and see what happens. Of course, there's got to be restrictions. You don't want to, the situation where the Union ends up being like, right, behind a rebel regiment or wherever the placements are. So right about now, you're thinking, okay, what kind of restrictions should you think about when you're doing a random placement? Well, should it now just shift to being this side of the river? Don't know. Maybe it's a onesie twosie thing. Maybe you do it, and if you don't like it, randomly roll to see where it does get positioned. That's not a bad idea. Like a shot fall procedure. So let's do another one. 10-sided. Here we go. 10 and 10. That's interesting, and that's going to put it probably 10-sided here and 10 across. So right there. So that's interesting, right? That can't be. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is right here. So the Union regiment obviously can't be put there, right? I mean, that would be, let's have a look, it would be horrible, right? Would it? maybe you just let the chips fall where they may and let it happen, right? It's not something altogether bad. Try another rebel unit. 11, so all the way to the edge, and 6 for the rebel unit. Interesting. So all the way to the edge and 6 down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now here's the question. Did it just get across the river? So when you put it down, the player has a choice. Where do you want to face? So he put this guy here, put that guy there, put this guy here, and we didn't roll it. He said, well, you know what? I've got this guy coming right on my rear end, so I'm going to put this guy in that water hex. I don't really know if it's a creek, but it's got cover on one side. Okay. So what does that mean? Well, it's a move impediment, but they could be said to be in cover. And these guys, being so far back, or at least one back from the fence, are not in cover. Being in the water, as they are, these guys, what does that mean? Well, they are, say, on one bank or the other. Player has to decide, okay, they're on the other bank. And this was the reason why you didn't want river or creeks to be splitting a hex. It either takes up the whole hex or it doesn't. It doesn't exist. And that's why so many board games and so on have that water hex filling the whole thing. So these guys would be in the water. And obviously that would be illegal. Unless they're in the midst of crossing, would they be in the midst of crossing? But in this case, as we have these thin little strips, and we're trying to utilize them for a better look to our little game, we'll say that they are on the other side, the cover side of the creek. When they move out, of course, they're going to encounter this cover, and that's going to be a move, a detriment. So that will be a terrain effect. So these guys have been placed here. The Union player says, okay, that's good for their placement. And these guys were the first to be placed. And there's our little game, really quick. Now, do we want to put an officer down, and do we want to use cards is the next question. You could say, yep, each player gets one card, okay? And so, therefore, you go ahead and draw the cards and see what happens. Interesting, quick little scenario.